It's beginning to look a lot like the most wonderful time of the year.
Are we talking about Christmas?
No, we're talking about baseball season. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of the J&J's Double Play podcast channel. For this video today, we are going to be talking about our predictions for the 2019 MLB season.
Ah, yes, the smell of the hot dogs, the look of the fresh cut grass.
And the fact that the Baltimore Orioles will finish in last place yet again in the American League East.
Okay, can we just take it easy on them? They already suffered enough.
You know what? You're right. I promise this will be the last Baltimore Orioles joke we make.
In this video?
Yep, for the rest of the video. We'll get to you guys a little bit later when we talk about the American League East, which is actually a good segue because we're going to go ahead and start our predictions in the American League East. I'll go ahead and say my predictions first. Last year, I picked the Yankees to win the division, and apparently I'm insane because I'm expecting a different result by doing the same thing. So I'm picking the New York Yankees to win the American League East. I think with the addition of James Paxton, the re-signing of CC Sabathia for a one-year deal, and the fact that they're going to have Judge and Stanton together for a second year, I think their bats are bolstered and their pitching rotation is solidified. They still have one of the best bullpens led by Aroldis Chapman, and I find it hard to bet against the Yankees to win the American League East. I still think the Boston Red Sox are going to make the playoffs. I don't see them as a big drop-off. I have them as my first wild card. But I think the fact of losing Craig Kimbrell is really going to hurt them in the back end of their bullpen, and that's why I give the Yankees the American League East.
You know, when you really look at that division, it's always been pretty much two teams, the Red Sox and the Yankees. You know, some exceptions have happened with the Orioles getting hot, and sometimes the Rays got hot. Who's the fifth team in that division?
We don't talk about them.
But at any rate, when you look back at last year, one of the most surprising teams was the Tampa Bay Rays. They won 90 games, and no one really talked about that. And so I'm feeling a little bold, and I'm going to pick them to win the division this year. They're a young hitting core team led by Tommy Pham, and they had the Cy Young Award winner in Blake Snell. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have the same year that he had with the 20-plus wins, but I think adding Charlie Morton to that rotation, tear, will solidify that pitching rotation. And as far as with the openers, I think people are going to be more prepared for it, but I think Tampa will also be more prepared to kind of change it up a little bit.
And with that, we have our first bold prediction of the 2019 season. Andy has the Tampa Bay Rays winning the American League East.
Watch me be wrong by May.
Yep, and in fact, the Blue Jays win the division. And with that, we'll transition to the American League Central. Until proven otherwise, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Indians. They have won the division for multiple years in a row now, and it's hard for me to say another team that is better than them in that division. The Royals, clearly in a rebuild. Tigers, probably just starting their rebuild. The White Sox tried to reload, but when Manny Machado didn't come, they kind of lost all hope. The Twins are kind of a bubble team. I could see them making more noise than they did last year, but they still have the best rotation with Corey Kluber, Mike Clevenger, Trevor Bauer. Like I said, until proven otherwise, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Indians.
I know I picked them last year, and it really kind of shot me in the foot in my predictions, but I must be insane, just like you, because I'm going to pick the Minnesota Twins. I think with the really nice veteran additions that they made this offseason...
You mean Marwin Gonzalez?
We don't talk about that. But yes, you include one of the best versatile player in the game with Marwin Gonzalez. You include a shortstop in Jonathan Scope, who I believe didn't get the chance he deserved in Milwaukee. And you get probably one of the best DHs around with Nelson Cruz. I'm not saying that they're going to run away with the division, but I think they're going to be more of a threat this year with Cleveland, especially with the injuries that Cleveland has been getting. I think last year was the end of their window to try to get a championship, because you got Frankie Lindor, who's probably going to be out the next 2 months. Then you got Jose Ramirez, who has been reported to be out 4 weeks. You have their starting pitchers are starting to age. So I think Minnesota's going to make some noise.
We will revisit that pick in July. Hopefully he won't cry this time. And now on to the American League West. We're going to kind of do this one in a quick way because we spend a lot of time talking about this team anyway. It's, of course, the Houston Astros. Both Andy and I predict that the Astros will win the division. And as long as we stay healthy, there are some concerns with our rotation. Verlander and Cole are a great 1-2 punch, but after that, you have Colin McHugh, Wade Miley, and what most likely will be Brad Peacock. Now, Forrest Whitley could come in later in the season and maybe give that spark that the Astros have been known to have rookies do, a la Carlos Correa in 2015, Alex Bregman 2017, and last year it was Tony Kemp and Tyler White had a great contribution to our playoff run. But as long as we stay healthy, I think the Astros are going to win the division.
No, you pretty much said it. The only real concern I have with that team is after the second starter. But Brad Peacock is a solidified great pitcher. You saw how big he was in our World Series run. Colin McHugh is transitioning back to a starting pitcher, which the last time he was a 19-game winner. Wade Miley had a really bounce-back season last year, so I think we'll be okay. You have one of the better back ends of the bullpen with Ryan Presley and Roberto Osuna. You still have your core four in the middle of the infield, and you have probably one of the best outfields, probably the second best. I'm sorry I have to say that, but Boston's probably number one on that one. I think this team is going to be fine. Of course, I think they're going to go 90-plus wins again, win the division, because honestly, who do we actually have in competition in that division? You have the A's, who were a surprising team last year, but I think they're really going to regress because they lost Jed Lowry. They lost their certified ace in Sean Manaea, so I don't see them making that much noise. The Mariners, nobody knows what they're doing. Like, one minute they're selling every piece off. The next they're trying to sign that big lefty in Japan, which they ended up getting, so that's good for them. The Rangers, they signed Hunter Pence.
Best signing of the offseason.
Which we would have said back in 2012. And then finally the Angels, they're literally just the Mike Trout team. That's all they are known for now. So let's transition to the wild card. Jack picked Boston to be the first one. I'm going to go ahead and agree with Jack on that one. I don't think Boston's going to have a horrible fallout. I just think that Tampa and Boston are going to be competing. But I have Tampa slightly going over Boston. I say 90-plus wins as well.
We both agree with the Boston Red Sox for that. For my second wild card, I had to do a little bit of thinking, and I came down to a couple teams. I thought of the Rays, I thought of the Twins, and I even thought of the Angels. But ultimately, I decided upon the Oakland Athletics. They're not as much of a fluke as the Tampa Bay Rays were. I think the Tampa Bay Rays last year won 90 games, the opener. And I think teams are going to be a little bit more prepared for that, so I don't see Tampa having as good of a year as Andy thinks that they're going to have. But I think Oakland could potentially be that second wild card like they were last year. They have a good core with Matt Chapman and Matt Olson, and I think that they have a little bit of pieces to build around. If they actually spend some money, this would be a pretty good team and probably a legitimate threat to the Astros in the division. I just think the Astros are still that much better than the Oakland A's that they'll win the division, but I can see Oakland maybe winning 90 or maybe even like 88, 89 games and getting that second wild card.
So as much as I would love to see the Yankees out of the playoffs, there's just no way with the talent on that team. So I have them winning the second wild card. So that's right. I have 3 teams out of the AL East go into the playoffs. I know. It sucks, doesn't it? But really, you look at all the teams in the American League, the top 5 teams are Houston, Boston, New York. I want to say Cleveland, but I don't think so. So I'm going to go with Minnesota. And then you had Tampa. As much as I don't like the Yankees and as much as I don't like the Red Sox, I don't see them not making the playoffs this year, especially with the 1-2 punch of Judge and Stanton. You have James Paxton now. You have some underrated signings in DJ LeMahieu. So, yeah, I can sadly see them making the playoffs as well.
It's okay. I went the very, very safe route. I picked all the same teams that made the playoffs last year to make it again.